What's up guys? Bit of a guide here for Albion Online, and today I'm going to be running a solo T6 dungeon, and this is called a Dungeon of Slices, and this is meant to be run by a solo adventurer in around T6 gear, maybe a little bit higher, a little bit lower. And often people at the moment in the current beta, the final beta phase, are running it with 2 to 3 people, and it's still a pretty decent deal, even running it with 2 or 3 people. I'm going to show you how to farm it on your own, and this is the build I'm running. I'm using a Expert's Battle Axe. All my gear is tier 5 at the moment, apart from my torch. Getting that to tier 5 gives you plus 3% on the attack speed bonus, so it's not huge, but it is nice, and it will definitely help you clear the dungeon a little bit quicker. So I'm using an Expert's Battle Axe, and I am using the Rending Strike, Heavy Smash, Vampiric Strike, and Life Leech on that. On the helmet I'm using Energy Shield, Toughness. On the chest I'm using Bloodlust, very important to use Bloodlust, and I'm using Toughness on the boots and the chest, and on the boots I'm using Sprint Shield as well. And I'm going to be popping that as much as possible because it's a 0 cost shield. That also gives me movement speed, but we're going to be using it for the shield, and that will reduce all the damage you take to 0 for the remainder of that damage. So this is a really nice build, and it's really PvE centric. It can hold its own against players, but you don't really have any CC whatsoever. You have very limited ability to keep hold of someone, so if someone knows they're going to lose to you, they can have a run, or kite you and kill you if they're ranged. So it's really not meant for PvP. It's a very PvE focused build. And you're gonna want to have most things to T5, and this will allow you to solo run the T6 dungeon. You can do this in T4, but it is significantly more difficult. So without further ado, guys, we'll get into the run, and I'll talk you through how I do. Okay, so let's get into the dungeon itself. Here I am, kicking off the dungeon, and I'm just gonna take this mob on its own for starters. I don't want to get too tangled up with the next set of mobs, because they can be a little bit tricky. This guy tends to hop back into that kind of alleyway there, and he's going to make it really difficult for you to kind of dodge his AoE, so I like to kind of take the melee mob out first and then move on to this guy. He's surrounded by 2 dogs which roam around. The next pack I'm going to chill for a little bit in the corner there. This is sped up, by the way, so this won't be real time, so things can be a little bit quicker if you're micromanaging a little bit better. I'm going to take these 2 guys, and as you can see, I'm kind of eating through my energy here. I really messed up there. I should have used my energy shield to gain more energy. It procs off every time I'm hit while it's up, so it doesn't really have a cap. So whenever you pop it, if you're surrounded by mobs, if you're being hit by a lot of separate mobs, pop that energy shield and your energy will spike up, as you can see it doing now. I'm going to take out this pack on the right here. As you saw, I skipped the pack back there, and I'm going to take this pack on the left. I'm just going to kill the squire and then the dog, and then I'm going to move on to the boss here. Now this first boss is probably the most tricky for a number of reasons. I'm actually going to get a little bit of DPS on him here to get a little bit of damage on him for starters. But you can see here, he places a bear trap, he hops back, and then he'll spray his AoE there, and that AoE does a hell of a lot of damage. If you stand in that, you're going to die very, very quickly. So you always want to be avoiding that. It's very unnecessary to take that damage. The only damage you should ever be taking from this fight is the 2 auto attacks he does. So he does 2 auto attacks, places a bear trap, jumps back like this, and then he'll spray. So he'll usually do 1 auto attack, bear trap, jump back, auto attack, spray. And the main issue of this is every time he jumps back, if you're melee, well, if you're running this build, you will be melee, you're going to have to get into range of him, which means you're going to pull a lot of the mobs up on the ridge here, and you're going to see me do that. Not to mention I've got to deactivate these totems every time they start healing, but I am going to eventually get him down here. So yeah, 1 hit on those totems will stop him healing. Fortunately I had him pretty low, and I only aggroed these 2 squires, so I'm going to pop my shield up here and make short work of them. I have to kill these totems to get out of combat, because they'll keep you in combat if they're alive. Actually that time they didn't, sometimes they do. They're a little bit buggy, this is beta. But then I'm just going to run up here, and I'm going to do this first mob spawn. I'm going to kill the dogs because they're really easy to kill, and I'm going to kill the squire, just get them down, getting a little bit of energy off them. You can see my health and energy will spike up, but I'm going to use Vampiric Strike in conjunction with Bloodlust a lot of the time, and Bloodlust will give me a lot of health because of the rending strike tick damage. It's a bleed, and every time it bleeds, I'm going to get health from that, so it's a really good skill to carry on using. I'm just checking my destiny board out there while I regen some health. I really messed up with this run. I should have brought some wheat or some carrot soup to make the run a lot quicker for me. I did this run in about 15 minutes, but you can easily get it down to 10, even less, if you really optimize your energy regain and your health regain, and you bring some soup. You can definitely get it down to 9 or 10 minutes, maybe even less if you really get it down. So I'm just going to take out those two melee dudes, and I have to be careful here because there is a roaming crossbowman, and I really don't want to start getting hit by his AoE because I've got a lot of other guys to tangle with. So I'm going to kill the squire, kill the dogs, and then I'm going to work on this crossbowman. You're going to see we get pretty low here. I do actually get bear trap there, but a lot of the time when I'm fighting crossbowmen, I will save my sprint to get out of the bear trap if I get bear trapped. If you get bear trapped and then sprayed with a crossbow, you're going to take a huge amount of damage and you might not get out of it before you die. Not to mention, guys, it's really important to know that in the Dungeon of Slighters, in any red zone dungeon, the mobs will execute you, which means when you die, you go down. Most mobs in yellow zones and green zones will leave you alone. In this, you're actually going to see I mess up this pull tremendously. I'm going to kill that guy, and I'm going to get very low, get to 81 health here. So if I'd have gone down there, the mobs would have executed me. And that means I lose all my gear. My gear goes into a bag and it drops on the ground. Some of it trashes, some of it survives. It's pretty random how it works. Sometimes you get really lucky, but that means I don't have to come all the way back here into the dungeon through all the mobs to try and get the gear. And if someone's behind me, if a player comes to do this dungeon before I'm able to get back, they will be able to take my gear and it will be theirs. So this pull is probably one of the most tricky because you have a roaming melee dude and you have, which is there. And also you have a lot of roamers around here, so it is pretty tricky to do these mob pulls. You're going to want to make sure you really watch the roaming mobs here. And you can see I'm not getting full silver drops, so someone has fairly recently farmed this dungeon. They're not barren. The red zones are being farmed quite a bit, so there's a definite threat of other players, and there is also the added disadvantage that people will have farmed it. So your silver drops, represented by that green bar, will be a little bit less than they should. So this dungeon should give you about 30k for a solo run. It can be a little bit less depending on who's farmed it recently, but the fame will always remain the same, and I haven't really counted the fame, but it is a good 3k fame, I think, maybe even more than that, easily more than that actually. I should probably count up the fame, but it's a really good chunk of fame. The final boss alone gives you 1700 fame, which is massive, like compared to everything else in the game. So I'm going to move through. You saw me take out those crossbowmen. I didn't aggro the squire while I was doing that. And these guys, they spin every 15 seconds, I believe. Sometimes a little bit quicker, but they will spin around every 15 seconds. You see there's another spin there. And that'll also do tremendous damage. The main reason this dungeon is so easy to farm is because the mobs have these downtime AoEs. Like the crossbowman, if you stand out of that AoE, he will be spraying into nothing, and you can just kill him while he's doing no damage to you. The same with the melee guy. You can get a few hits in, and then, maybe regen up a little bit. I really mess up here. I engaged this boss on way too low health, and I'm actually going to get really quite low here. You see that I try and hit the totem to stop it healing, and while I'm doing so, I mistime the spinning AoE. And he does a lot of damage to me with that spinning AoE. You're going to see I'm still in combat here, so it's not too fantastic. That did delay me quite a bit, and 15-minute dungeon run. This was a very flawed dungeon run for me. I didn't bring soup, and I mess up a couple of the mob spawns, which means I have to wait between them. This could easily be an 8-minute run if you really get it down. Which 8 to 10 minutes for 30k silver is really good. Not to mention how good the fame is. So you're gonna have to. This guy is very similar to the first boss. He's basically a melee version of the first boss. It's always a good idea to take out that Morgana spell mage straight away, because she's just going to summon an untold amount of imps, and that's going to really be a pain in the ass for you. So I'm just going to keep deactivating these totems while I'm hitting the boss, putting that Sunder stack on him with the heavy smash, and keeping myself nice and topped up with the Vampiric Strike. I'm not going to explain the build too much, just give you the skills and you can kind of work it out yourself. It's not too hard to use. You basically want to stack up the Rending Strike, use the Vampiric Strike as well to really keep your health nice and topped off. You use the Bloodlust for an extra HP gain. And the beauty of this build is you don't have to stop between each mob spawn to regen yourself. You're regenning in the fight, which means you can go from spawn to spawn. As long as you manage your energy well enough, you can go from spawn to spawn without any real downtime, and you can regen while in the fight. So it makes you pretty damn tanky. So I'm just going to take out those mob spawns. They're pretty straightforward. And then this last boss he has a crossbowman, and he's also a melee dude. So he's pretty much exactly the same as the second boss, only he has a crossbowman. So again, you're going to want to go into this fight on fairly high HP and energy. He also has the healing totems. I think it's randomized what he gets. I think this guy gets both. He gets the healing totems and the firing totems. There's another kind of totem that does a laser that spins around. That's fairly easy to dodge, but it will mean that you're going to have to position yourself a little bit better. And you can see how messy this can get. You really want to make sure you're keeping track of these AoEs and not standing in that bear trap. It's really important to kill the crossbowmen as quick as possible because it'll make your life a hell of a lot easier. So from now on, I'm just going to kind of, get this boss down by pure attrition, just using my spells, keeping my energy nice and high. He's really easy actually, because all you do is just kind of go in, 15 seconds are up, he spins, get a bit of damage on him, use your energy shield to keep yourself up, use your sprint shield every time it's off cooldown. You don't want to use the sprint shield while he's spinning because that's a bit of a waste. You don't really want to stand in that, but if you do accidentally use it, you can stand in the AoE and get a little bit of damage for 500 damage. And here I'm just going to take him down. You see 1700 fame there. Going to have to kill this totem to get myself out of combat. And 11.6k silver. It's worth noting that at full silver, that will give you 13.3k. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this guide, please let me know. Please give it a like if it was helpful to you, and please let me know if there's anything you think I could improve in this build. If there's a build you're running that's doing the same sort of thing, maybe it's faster, maybe it's slower. Let me know what's happening in the comment section below, and let me know if you like this video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you around.